we are back with another plan with me, and today we're going to be doing July 3rd through July 9th, and we're still working on catching up. So for this week we are of course going to be using my 4th of July kit. So I do have this kit available in my Etsy shop. I'll have a link to it below if you'd like to purchase this for your own planner. So this one's called Stars and Stripes, and this one was a reformat of a kit that I had made a couple years ago. I just kind of updated a few boxes and just kind of gave it a new fresh kind of look. So this is the full page boxes. These are the check boxes. These are the dates and icons and glitter flags. And I went ahead and already put my little dates on here already. Then we have the little labels and today, the little things like that. Then this one is the deco page with the glitter headers, the flags, and the weekend banner. And finally we have the bottom washi and the quarter boxes here. I really like how this one turned out. I was kind of playing around with like a different kind of pattern, and I really like this one. And I feel like it just kind of really gave this kit a new fresh feeling. Alright, so that is what we're going to be using today. So as always, I'm going to start off by just covering up the days here just so they don't show through, and just kind of quickly white out all of those. Alright, so as always, I like to start with my today headers. This always just makes it easier for me to line up my date covers there, so usually start with this one. So I hope you guys enjoyed my first plan with me. I am actually doing this the next day after I filmed that one, so it's gonna be a little bit before I actually hear some feedback and like see, you know, if anyone's interested in these plan with me's. But even if not, that's okay. I just really love doing them, and it just kind of gives me something to do. So I'm trying to think of like a topic. Oops, wrong one. Almost made a big mistake there. There we go, that's the right sticker. So I'm trying to think of like a little topic to talk about. I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of the worst at talking while I do my sticker layouts, but something I could talk about. I talked about this a little bit in my last video, with how 4th of July is always like the first week typically in the Erin Condren planners. Most of the time, I mean, there are obviously times when there's not, like this year, so I was really excited because I didn't have to do like a 4th of July kit for the very first week of the planner, which is just kind of nice because sometimes, I don't know, it gets repetitive every year. And I had used before I reformatted this kit, I had used it probably once or twice for the years before, so I was like, I just kind of want something a little fresh, a little new, so it was nice doing this one for the second week. And of course, with it being reformatted a bit, this is the first time I'm using this version of it, so it feels nice. But what I was going to say was that 4th of July was actually the very first time that I posted on YouTube in 2011, so kind of nostalgic for it from like my YouTube channel point of view. And I remember I had started my channel, like I said, 4th of July 2011, and it was just a couple of weeks, or maybe even just a few days, before I went on a school trip abroad to France and Italy. And I was really excited, and I wanted to like kind of like practice making videos and stuff, because I just thought I would be making videos in Paris for fun while I was there, but I ended up not doing that. Number one, I was extremely shy, and number two, my parents wouldn't let me take the camera. They were like, no, you're not gonna take this camera overseas with you. So I just had like my little phone, not even my phone. So that's kind of the crazy thing. I'm not sure why, but I did not even take my phone abroad with me when I went to Europe for 10 days, which is kind of crazy looking back on it now, because I would absolutely never do that. But I think the reason why had to do with we were like kind of afraid of like getting those like international roaming charges on my phone and stuff like that. So instead of like, you know, taking the time to go down to the AT&T store and like talk about them and figure out like what we need to do and all that crap, we were just like, you know what, maybe just don't take your phone. So it's kind of crazy. So I did not take my phone when I went to Europe. I was 17. Yeah, I was about to turn 18 in October. So in July, I would have been 17 then. And I have to say, even though it's been, what, like 12 years, I guess, since I went, it feels like it's been 22 years since I went, because I don't know why, but my memories were kind of, what's the word? Not like blacked out or anything, but I have kind of big travel anxiety, and going to a foreign country, you know, of course I was like with my classmates and my best friend and stuff like that, and you know, teachers that I knew and stuff, but it was still kind of like a very scary big deal because I don't do traveling very well, especially like by myself. No, there's absolutely no way I would ever travel by myself. So even with all of those like comforting and familiar faces, I was still like an anxiety wreck on that entire trip, which kind of makes me sad because obviously I let a lot of my anxiety kind of get a hold of me in life in general almost. And don't get me wrong, like I did have an amazing, wonderful time, but I feel like my anxiety really kind of like held me back out of a lot of things. So like the first night that we flew out, I think it was probably like a 3 o'clock or something, and you know, we fly internationally, and with a time change, we end up getting to like Paris like in the morning. So we've already kind of had like a full day going, and then so like you're tired and jet lagged and like kind of ready to relax, but then with the time that we get there, it's like, nope, we are on to our very first activity. So we basically like dropped our luggage off at the hotel, and then I think we went in, I think the first thing we might have done was like a bus tour. So it was just kind of like a whole lot of stuff all at once. Even though you're tired, it's like, nope, you have a full day ahead of you. So I was kind of going on very little sleep also because I didn't really sleep very much on the plane. I kind of napped very briefly, but I'm kind of one of those people, I cannot fall asleep like on a plane, hardly in a car. I don't know what it is. I just can't fall asleep places that is not like a bed or a couch or something like that. And I think part of it, again, also kind of goes back to like anxiety and stuff. I'm like afraid, what if I don't wake up and I miss something, or I get left behind? I don't know, my brain kind of goes a little wild at times. I will definitely acknowledge and agree upon that. But because my anxiety was so bad, I ended up kind of missing a lot of, not a lot of activities, but a lot of dinners. The very first night, I think that they all went out to dinner at, I think it was like the Hard Rock Cafe in Paris, and it was kind of like, I don't know, some people might be asking like, why did you go to the Hard Rock Cafe? That was just like the pre-planned thing with the itinerary. So number one, I didn't have any choice of that, and then number two, I think the like logic behind it was to kind of maybe lessen some of the culture shock with just getting to a foreign country that you've never been to before. So like going someplace like the Hard Rock would be a little bit more kind of ease you in. And then of course we went to a lot of fun, you know, authentic French and Italian restaurants. Did I mention we went to Italy too? I don't know if I mentioned that. I think we did like 5 days in France and 5 days in Italy, I think. Something like that. So don't get me wrong, we did do a lot of the authentic stuff, but my anxiety was kind of like really, really bad. And even though I was like with a group of people that I knew and everything like that, it still just kind of bothered me. So I kind of missed out on a few dinners just because number one, especially the first night, I was just exhausted and tired after going for like probably close to like 18 to 20 hours. I was very, very, very tired. So I skipped that very first dinner, but I did skip a few more, purely just kind of out of like anxiety and stuff. So that was the one thing about that trip. I swear I lost like 10 pounds because number one, of course, we're walking a lot of places and getting a lot of like exercise. And then I was literally eating almost nothing. So I at least lost a lot of weight that trip, but of course I gained it all back as soon as I got home. But when I look back on it now and I think about that trip and stuff, and I just think like, man, I really wish I would have let loose a little bit more and stuff and not been so uptight and so anxious about everything, which I feel like, you know, being 12 years removed from that is a little easier said than done in the moment, of course. And I've just always been a little bit more of like a cautious, kind of anxious person, just in general in life. I think that's definitely a fair thing to say. But it kind of makes me sad when I do think back on that time because I did kind of let fear rule so much of like my activities and like what I would do and wouldn't do and where I'd go and wouldn't go and things like that. So it does kind of make me a little sad to think back on that when I feel like I could have, you know, made more of an effort to kind of push through some of those anxiety moments. And I can't even quite pinpoint what it is or what the underlying reason is for it, other than just truly, you know, it being like culture shock, being in a new place, not understanding fluently the language. I did speak a little bit of French because this was a class trip for my French class, so I could communicate very, very little. I'd had 2 years of French at this point when we went on that trip, so I could, you know, I could order and probably ask for very, very basic directions and stuff like that, but I don't know, I think my confidence with all of that was definitely lacking. But I did still have a very wonderful time on that trip. It was definitely something that I loved so much, and even thinking about it now as an adult, I'm almost kind of sad because I know that I really did miss out on a lot of things on this trip because of my fear and my anxiety. And not to mention all the dinners that I missed. I probably missed a total of 3 dinners on a 10-day stay. So, I mean, when you're missing like 30% of the dinners, that's kind of a lot. And then the very last day when we were in Rome, that morning I woke up and I felt sick to my stomach. And this, I think, wasn't just like an anxiety related thing. I think this was truly like I was sick kind of thing, because I had the worst like stomach pains and I was throwing up and everything else was not quite right. So I ended up missing the very last day of the trip, and I was in Rome and I basically just stayed in my hotel the whole day. And I was really kind of sad because I wish I could have powered through that, but I literally was throwing up that whole last day. I don't know if it was because I drank like, if I drank like bad water or something, but it was not, it was not working out. And all I pretty much had to eat that day was just like some stale pretzels that we had got probably once I was in Paris. So those were probably a few days old too. And so didn't have much to eat that day. But then whenever everyone came back for the day, I did kind of like rally a bit to at least get to finish off like the last dinner and everything, so that was good. But my whole point of like going on this whole tangent was just how it was such a fun trip, but I'm so sad that I let fear kind of ruin that, you know, possibly once in a lifetime moment for me. I'm not gonna lie, I still really do have like a lot of travel anxiety and travel stress and stuff like that, and so I don't really like doing traveling that much, if I'm gonna be like completely honest. Like I don't mind like little weekend trips or day trips and stuff, but like flying is kind of like not really my favorite thing. And it's not even like flying, I actually love flying itself, it's just like very, very fun for me, but the stress of like going through security, going to like an airport, you know, dealing with like last minute if your flight's canceled or stuff like that would absolutely throw me for a loop, and it's just not something I like doing. So unfortunately I don't really do a whole lot of traveling for those reasons, and it's just kind of like one of those things that's kind of always bothered me and always just freaked me out to no end. So unfortunately flying, like I said, flying itself is not the problem, but just all the work of getting to the plane seat is kind of a big problem for me. But I really, really loved the trip itself. I think that it was so much fun and was an incredible opportunity that I'm so blessed and fortunate to have gotten to do. And I think about that all the time, and I of course look back on that trip fondly, but then I also think like, wow, I feel like I could have gotten so much more out of it had I not let my fear kind of drive me to miss out on a lot of opportunities and things. So pretty much that whole last day was the whole day in Rome. So I missed out like on the Colosseum, I missed out like on going to the Vatican. There were so many things that I missed out on that particular day that in hindsight I wish I would have just like pushed through that moment. So it was a very happy time, but also a very kind of bittersweet time as well. Okay, so here is the planner spread before I add the pin, and then of course I have a few more little decorative stickers to add on and stuff like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill this out and come back and show you guys the final spread. Okay guys, I have filled it in with pin, and here's all the leftover stickers that I have. I've got the one label on the full box page, 4 on the checkbox page. I've got all of those dates, several icons, and one flag. Then I've got several of these little things and appointment and habit tracker, all the flags, a few deco. Oh, I forgot to put the deco. We could do that together right now. So I like to usually put all the little deco on the bottoms here, just kind of like on top of the washi. I don't really like it anywhere else just because I feel like, I don't know, I kind of like it to be a little bit more clean looking, and that's just kind of like one of those things. I know some people like to break up and like do different like blocking kind of techniques with their kits. I just can't stand that look for me personally for my planner because it gets a little bit too discombobulating for me, and I just like things to be a little bit more like easy to see and not too overwhelming. So I typically kind of like to keep it a little bit more, at least for me, it's a little bit more visually appealing this way and a little bit easier to process. And I think I'm gonna peel this guy up real quick and kind of put him a little closer so there's room for, there we go, all of those. Okay, now, then we've got just the flags left here, and then we've got 1/4 box and the movie marquee there. So that is it for this plan with me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram, link is below. And if you want to buy this kit, I will have it in my description box where you can purchase this from my planner Etsy shop. So I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.